Update. Am I the a-hole for refusing to speak to my friend and end our 15+ year-long friendship after she took my purse, used my money and lost it? Original post. So, I 21 female am just about to leave from a vacation with a friend, also 21 female, and I'm honestly still sick over what happened. A few days ago, she took my expensive Zadig and Voltaire purse without asking. This purse was a Christmas gift from my sister and has huge sentimental value. I've spent the past few years taking really good care of it because it means so much to me. When she took it, she didn't even tell me. I only found out after the fact that she used it to go to the laundromat and in the process, used my money, which she also didn't ask to take. For context, the purse had around $40 in cash and a bunch of quarters, a gift from my sister's best friend's mom. 60 euros in notes, and at least 20 euros in coins. So we're talking over 100 euros total, not to mention the purse itself. And now, the purse is gone. She lost it. I was obviously upset, not yelling or blaming her, just crying and saying I wasn't mad, just hurt. I told her how much that purse meant to me, and how hard I've worked to keep it safe for years. Instead of apologizing, she got huffy with me, rolled her eyes, and said, "How much does it cost? I'll just replace it," in this angry, dismissive tone. She has a very defensive and confrontational nature that makes me feel bullied and small, so I find it hard to stand up to her. But it's not just about the money. It's about trust, respect, and losing something deeply personal to me. Since then, she hasn't apologized at all. In fact, she's acting annoyed that I'm upset. Now we're on the last night of our trip, and I've decided to just be neutral and quiet for the journey home. But once we're back, I plan to stop speaking to her entirely. I feel like she violated my boundaries, disrespected my belongings, and is now making me feel like I'm too sensitive for being hurt. But some mutual friends are already making me feel like I'm being dramatic and should let it go because it's just a bag. So, am I the a-hole for cutting her off and refusing to speak to her after this? Now for the top comments before reading the update. She's not a friend. She also needs to pay you back for the purse. She stole it, actually. So she's a thief. Your choice on how to handle that going forward. Not the a-hole. She agrees to reimburse me, which I accepted, but I haven't spoken with her further about it, as I've been too upset to look up the cost of the purse. And I also haven't told her the amount that was in the purse. I plan to do so in 2 days' time, where I will post the update after I discuss with her my true feelings about this. Have you checked her bags? She might have your purse tucked away in her belongings. Make her reimburse you, then end the relationship with a thief. Not the a-hole, and I don't know why you say you weren't angry, just hurt. I'd be furious as well as hurt. She stole from you. She violated your trust. She's deflecting as if you're the one making a big deal about it. As if what she took was, say, a candy bar, and not an expensive bag costing hundreds of dollars or euros, as well as a bunch of cash. Why would you want to stay friends with someone who would do that? If she won't pay you back in cash for the money in the bag, I'd post this all over social media with her name attached as a warning to others, because I doubt the police report will get you anywhere at this point. I agree, but getting angry with a girl like her doesn't work. It only invigorates her, it seems. I am genuinely heartbroken, as this has huge sentimental value. But also, the amount of money in it may not be large to most, is a lot to a student nurse in college, whose parents are not wealthy enough to support my college fees and living expenses like hers are. When I receive nice things, I aim to keep them for a long time. She just lost my belongings like it was nothing, and never apologized. Now for the update. So I have an update. Thank you to everyone who gave advice or shared support. It really helped more than you know. On the flight home, she asked me to mind her passport in my bag, even though she had her own backpack. I agreed, just to keep the peace because I didn't want to deal with any attitude or fighting. When we landed, she turned to me and asked, "Do you have my passport?" in this snappy tone. I was still hurt and wanted to get one last jab in, so I said, using the exact words she said to me all week about my missing purse, "I was checking my bag the whole time to make sure your passport was there, but maybe it'll show up when we get off the plane." I regretted saying it immediately. She snapped in front of other passengers, finally acknowledging that I'd been upset about the purse, but in the most cruel and dismissive way. She said, well, at least I didn't throw a hissy fit bawling crying for hours over a purse. That was the last straw. She acknowledged my obvious upset, yet still would not apologize. Once we got our bags at the airport, I told her I wanted to check her suitcase for my purse. I said if she refused, I'd involve the police. She tried to say I was violating her privacy, which is hilarious considering she took my purse and went through my belongings. I told her if it wasn't there, she had nothing to be worried about. I also made it clear I wasn't going to touch any of her stuff, that I wasn't interested in taking others' belongings without permission, just checking for what was mine. She was absolutely fuming, face red, shaking, visibly furious. Then she shoved her bag at me and told me to go ahead. I opened a zipped compartment. Inside was a black trash bag. Inside that was a red Target bag. Inside that, drum roll, my purse. All of the money was still inside. The cash, the euro coins, but no quarters. I was honestly so shocked I couldn't even ask why she had it or what her plan was. I just said thanks and walked away with my stuff. I got on the bus home and haven't spoken to her since. I wish I hadn't been so emotionally drained to have given her a piece of my mind. She's since blocked me with no apology or explanation. As a side note, her mom, who doesn't know we're not speaking, called me at 3 a.m. crying. She was saying how badly she feels treated by her daughter and her husband, how she's constantly belittled. I won't get into any of what had just happened, but it definitely gave me more perspective. This girl is cruel and horrendous, with little to no empathy, and I think maybe a sociopath. Anyway, I got my purse back, but the whole thing left a really bad taste in my mouth. I still don't fully understand what she was trying to do, and honestly, I don't think I want to. I'm just relieved it's over. What do you guys think she was aiming to do with the purse? Very little of my money inside was used. So strange. Thanks again. Edit. I didn't realize this would gain such traction so quickly. Thank you to everybody. Also, she chronically watches the Smosh YouTube channel, where they review Reddit stories like Am I the A-hole, etc. I'm just laughing thinking about if this came up, I feel like she's so self-absorbed. She would not clock that it's about her. Why haven't you told your friends and her mom about what happened? It's like you want her to rewrite the story to make you the villain. My friends are aware, and my entire family. They told me they are disgraced by her behavior and to cut off contact with her. The friends on vacation, however, whether they sided with her or were actually too afraid to side with me, I'm not sure. I haven't reached out to them, and from advice from the previous post, I am not continuing my friendships with them. I can't be friends with someone who is too weak to stand up for me. Her mother was drunk driving and in a bad spot, so I felt it was not the right time to bring up the situation as she was very upset. This was weird. She took the bag but didn't use the money inside, except quarters. She didn't dump it either. I wonder if she has a collection of trophies that she has stolen? Her mom seems to be aware that her daughter has different behavior than most of the others. It sounds like other friends may be scared of her. So that's the mom and possibly friends that are unnerved by her. I can imagine that rage, the rage that she knows you'll find your purse and she won't get away with it. Good for you for sticking up for yourself. I would distance yourself away, far away from her. That friend is not a friend to cause you all this stress when you were on holiday, trying to enjoy yourself. I have not had any psychological training, just the University of Life. But she doesn't sound right to me. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to wrap my head around it all. My family and friends are just as confused as to what her objective was. My dad just put it down too, in his very old country Irish father way, cuts are everywhere. Don't think about it anymore. Just don't give her the time of day ever again. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my ex-girlfriend's dog back after she abandoned it with me for a year? I, 29 male, broke up with my ex Chloe, 28 female, about 14 months ago. The breakup itself was messy, and when she moved out, she asked if I could look after her dog, a senior dachshund named Frank, for a couple of weeks, while she found a new pet-friendly place to live. I agreed without hesitation, because honestly, I loved that dog. He'd been around for years and was always a source of comfort. I didn't want him to suffer just because of our split. Those couple of weeks quickly turned into months. At first, Chloe would occasionally text me to ask how Frank was doing. but she never came to visit him or sent money for food, vet bills, or anything related to his care. After a few months, the texts slowed down. She stopped checking in as often, and her lack of involvement became pretty obvious. Around the 6-month mark, I finally texted her to ask directly, "Hey, are you planning to get Frank soon? His food and care are starting to get expensive." She took a day to respond and then replied with, "I'm still looking. Thanks so much for doing this." That was it. No timeline, no offer of help, nothing. By the 10th month, things came to a head. Frank had a serious vet visit that cost me over $300, which was a huge hit because I had just lost my job at the time. Chloe hadn't reached out in 4 months, and honestly, I didn't even bother texting her about the bill. I covered it myself, and at that point, I made the mental shift. Frank wasn't her dog anymore. He was mine. I was the one feeding him, walking him, paying for him, and loving him every single day. Fast forward to last week, and Chloe suddenly shows up at my door out of nowhere. She looked completely different. New clothes, new attitude, and apparently a whole new life. She told me she had a new job, a new apartment, and even a new boyfriend. Then she casually said, "I'm here for Frank. Thanks for watching him." As if this had just been a short favor and not 14 months of responsibility. I flat out told her no. I said she abandoned him. I had been his sole caretaker for over a year, and I paid for everything out of my own pocket. I reminded her that she hadn't even contacted me for months. Chloe immediately got hysterical, shouting that I was stealing her dog. She insisted Frank had been her emotional support animal during our relationship and claimed she needed him back. She even offered to pay me back for the vet bills in installments if I just handed him over. I told her to get lost and close the door. Since then, she's been blowing up my phone with messages, alternating between guilt trips and demands. To make things worse, her new boyfriend has started sending me threatening texts, saying I'll regret it if I don't give Frank back. Now my friends are split. Some say I saved Frank when Chloe abandoned him and that he's rightfully mine now. Others argue I'm just being a bitter ex, keeping him out of spite, and that technically he's her property, and I should have given her a chance to make things right. So, am I the a-hole here? Info. How long was the dog only hers? I mean, before you started living together? Before. I don't know how long before me, but enough that Frank was upset for days without seeing his ex-owner. I once texted her, "Frank is low on energy. Maybe he should see you." She never visited, even after agreeing. Not the a-hole. You have recent vet bills in your name, so legally the dog is yours. If he has a microchip, get it registered in your name ASAP. If Frank really was her emotional support dog, she never would have left him with you. What's crazy is how she never once complained about needing to see Frank for emotional support, but suddenly after 1 year she needs him as an emotional support dog. Frank is better off with OP. She's a horrible dog owner. You are not the a-hole. I actually did something similar with a relative who abandoned a dog with us and then asked to have her back a year and a half later. That is your dog now. Do not take her calls. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my roommate's boyfriend move in without lowering my rent? I am 27 and currently share a 2-bedroom apartment with my roommate Tara, who is 26. We've lived together for about a year, and up until now, things have worked out pretty smoothly. We split the rent and utilities evenly, 50-50, and we each have our own bedroom and share the common spaces. The arrangement has always felt fair and balanced. A few days ago, Tara brought up something that completely changed the dynamic. She told me that her boyfriend, Evan, 28, recently had his lease end and is looking for a place to stay. She said she wants him to move in with us temporarily until he finds something else. At first, I didn't see a problem with it. I figured it might be for a month or so, and if it helped him out, I was fine with the idea. But then Tara made it clear that she still expects the rent and utilities to remain split down the middle. Just me and her, 50-50, even after Evan moves in. That's where I had an issue. I told her that if there are going to be 3 adults living in the apartment, then the fair thing would be to divide the rent and bills 3 ways. Even if Evan is sharing her room and not technically taking up an additional bedroom, he will still be using the bathroom, the kitchen, the water, the internet, the electricity, and all the other shared resources. Another person living here means increased utility usage and extra wear and tear on the apartment. Tara pushed back immediately. She said it wouldn't be fair to split everything 3 ways because Evan would be sharing her room and not taking up any extra space. She acted like he would just magically blend in without affecting anything. I tried to explain calmly that this isn't about square footage. It's about usage. If he showers, flushes the toilet, cooks meals, runs the dishwasher, uses the Wi-Fi, and sits in the living room, then yes, he is contributing to the overall expenses whether he has his own bedroom or not. She got frustrated and accused me of being petty and selfish. According to her, I should be happy for her and supportive of her relationship instead of making it about money. I told her very clearly that I don't care if Evan moves in for a while, but if he does, the financial arrangement needs to change. Otherwise, I will start looking for another place to live because I refuse to subsidize their relationship. Now she's upset with me. She says I'm overreacting, creating unnecessary drama and making things harder than they need to be. From her perspective, I'm just being difficult. But from my perspective, I'm being fair and protecting myself financially. So now I'm stuck wondering, am I the a-hole for refusing to keep paying the same rent if her boyfriend moves in? Or am I right to draw this line? Not the a-hole. First, check your lease. You may not be allowed to have another roommate. If that's the case, tell your roommate that you will not allow the boyfriend to move in due to concerns of being evicted. If her boyfriend moves in, you should split bills 3 ways. No way does the boyfriend get to live there for free. Your roommate may have told him that he could give her half of what she pays and she would pocket the money. That's actually a really good point. I hadn't thought about checking the lease, but I'll do that before making any decisions. And yeah, I definitely agree the bills should be split 3 ways if he moves in. I also wouldn't be surprised if she worked out something with him on the side, so I'll make sure everything is clear and in writing. Not the a-hole. Say something to your landlord if you don't want to move out. Yeah, I'm planning to talk to my landlord about it. I just want to understand my options before making any decisions, but moving out would really be my last resort. Splitting the rent 3 ways is a reasonable ask. Make sure you ask the landlord if you're allowed to move a 3rd person in before anything. But it honestly sounds like your roomie and her boyfriend want to financially take advantage of you. Not the a-hole.